No more bragging now, huh? Always boasting about great relationships with this client, that supplier. And look, now there's not even a ghost of them in sight. When I was asked to move to Shandong, I knew it was all over.
In a recent video, a woman painfully recounts being deceived into working for a company that ultimately closed down. This winter in Shandong, China has been particularly harsh due to the mass exodus of foreign capital. On December 9th, a South Korean enterprise, Fengguo Electronics Factory, based in Rizhao, Shandong, announced its divestment and closure. This comes after significant layoffs at the Rizhao Steel Factory, adding to the mounting unemployment in China. The video shows employees of Fengguo Electronics packing up machinery and completing their final tasks. Newly produced goods lay on the ground, likely to be sold off cheaply due to the imminent shutdown. The factory, operational since 2007, now stands empty, its floors littered with scraps of paper and trash, symbolizing the end of its 16-year journey. Employees gathered outside the factory on their last day, awaiting salary settlements and severance packages. Reports suggest that the company offered generous compensations, including regular salaries, severance based on tenure, and additional bonus payments as a gesture of gratitude for the employees' years of service. Netizens have expressed admiration for the company's ethical approach. Comments from users like Lu Man and Walking Xiaoyu on Douyin praised the company for its integrity, noting it as a stark contrast to local Chinese firms that withhold employee wages. Apart from the manufacturing sector, the first wave of South Korean cosmetics brands entering China is also retreating. Papa Recipe, known for its popular face masks, announced the cessation of its operations in China. According to Chen Yuchang, head of the brand's Chinese distributor Shenmei Group, the cooperation with Papa Recipe has ended, and the brand will cease operations in China. The brand's Taobao flagship store also confirmed the end of their long-term partnership, marking the exit of this once highly successful brand from the Chinese market. Following Papa Recipe, over 80% of Innisfree stores under the South Korean cosmetic giant Amore Pacific have closed in China. In fact, nearly all foreign cosmetic enterprises in China, including global giants like Kao Corporation, L'Oreal, Shiseido, Unilever, and Estee Lauder, are experiencing a wave of closures and market exits. This silent withdrawal of foreign investment reflects a deepening crisis in the Chinese market. The closure of businesses and resulting unemployment wave have been profound. An employee of a recently closed furniture factory in Guangzhou shared their unemployment journey online, illustrating the challenges faced by many.
What's it like to work on the last day before the company shuts down? We're a furniture factory. The boss bought this place for $3 million in 2017, and I joined in 2018. We had a few good years, but things started to decline last year, and orders plummeted this year. Now we've got no choice but to close. We are moving those things that we don't know how to deal with to the headquarters in Shenzhen. Things that are useless are being burnt downstairs. Can't find workers anymore, so I'm moving stuff myself. I'm moving it here for the security to burn. Look at this top-notch office. We're allowed to take the computers. The boss doesn't mind. I've been here 5.5 years. It feels like home. The boss and the managers have been great. Never a harsh word. They said, take whatever you want today. I'm taking the computer and printer home. This computer was new when I joined. Even the little speakers and cups, custom made here. I'll take them as mementos. Small things I can take home. For big items, I'll need a truck. All good things come to an end. I hope the boss will restart elsewhere. Our path may cross again.
The Chinese economy, once boasting that they did not want foreign capital, now grapples with significant repercussions. The massive withdrawal of foreign companies, coupled with a sharp decrease in international tourism, has left international airports as stark reminders of the country's economic downturn.
Looking for a place to eat at the airport, but many shops are closed. It's past 10 a.m., and this once bustling place is now so quiet. Even though the pandemic restrictions have been lifted for over a year, there are very few flights and therefore few people. I'm so hungry and can't find a place to eat. This side is relatively crowded, but many shops are still closed. These duty-free shops used to be packed. You can imagine how tough it is this year for those in outbound tourism and related industries.
It's a slump. Places like Shanghai Tan, Sunrise Duty Free, Xibei Yu Noodle Village, and Tang Palace have all closed. This Huangshan Tunxi International Airport in Anhui is quieter than a train station, even less crowded. Apart from the distant airport nestled in the suburbs, a tide of closures and a surge in unemployment have rendered the once bustling city streets eerily deserted. Row upon row of closed and shuttered shops stand as somber gray scars, etching a narrative of loss and desolation onto the urban tapestry. Oh, rows and rows of shops closed, like stone pot rice, Yongkang meat pies, fragrant rice noodles, even in Hangzhou's West Lake district in the city center. Many restaurant owners who survived the 3-year pandemic are now succumbing to the post-pandemic economic slump. A restaurant owner reflecting on his 25-year culinary career anticipates its end due to the failure of his latest venture. The belief that mastering a trade would guarantee employment is no longer a reality in these changing times. Rent's $3,500 to $3,600 a month. The food's not expensive, but we're running at a loss. The rented space is just over 50 square meters. Planning to sell off things like the air conditioner and look for a new job, even though we've lost money these past few months. My wife hasn't complained once. Been in this for over 20 years. Started at 16 or 17 after middle school. Worked with relatives, learning cooking as a trade to make a living. Worked in many cities over 20 years, finally settled here. Been running this restaurant for 4 to 5 months, losing money. Business is tough this year, the toughest in decades. We buy fresh ingredients, no pre-cooked meals in my restaurant. Running a restaurant is risky. If you don't do it right, you lose money. So those who have never done it, don't do it.
Come see our Xi Hui Xuan. Building a shop is hard, but destroying one can happen overnight. It's all gone now. Been running for 4 years. Opened in 2019. Even during the pandemic, business was good, making 20 to 30,000 a day. But this year, since April, our monthly performance halved. Renting here is costly. Besides rent and wages, we need to make over 450,000 a month just to break even. We've been losing money since April and May, half a year in a row. In this economy, with downgraded consumption, as much as it hurts, we have to let go. It's time to stop.
After 3 years of the pandemic, all 19 of my restaurants have finally closed down. The last one, a Japanese eatery, sold off all its equipment today. This place was over 270 square meters, and I'd sunk more than 1.6 million into it. It was in a super busy mall with a monthly rent of over 60,000. With more than 10 employees, our monthly expenses were over 90,000. But business has been brutal this year, as everyone knows. We never made a profit since opening. Every month ended with losses of several thousand. To make things worse, we recently got hit by the nuclear wastewater incident, and my 2 partners bailed. I tried to hold on alone, but it was just too much. The mall wouldn't let me transfer the lease, and when I used up the last week of rent, I had no choice but to liquidate the equipment. It's a shame, such a nice interior gone to waste. The boss, looking helpless, told me there was a time he made millions a year. But 3 years of the pandemic drained all his savings, and now this place has left him deep in debt. Even after over a decade in the restaurant business, I'm overwhelmed. What's next for me? Business owners are perplexed by the absence of customers despite various promotional efforts and price wars. Stimulus measures have failed to translate into tangible consumer spending, leading to a cautious approach from both business owners and consumers. Many thought the end of the pandemic is the start of a new economic recovery. However, reality is far from that. As of September this year, approximately 990,000 Chinese restaurants have closed, with projections reaching 1.5 million by year-end, indicating a shift from a growth to a saturated market. In the backdrop of China's economic decline, the challenges are not limited to the physical economy, but extend to online e-commerce. legal expert Liang Shaohua pointed out that the traditional economy wasn't defeated by e-commerce, but rather suppressed under the policies of President Xi Jinping, particularly targeting the so-called internet economy. Alibaba, a company that thrived in China's unique market environment, relies heavily on governmental and commercial support. Consequently, Alibaba's stock prices have been falling, with its market value now surpassed by Pinduoduo. Notably, Alibaba did not disclose its sales for this year's Double 11 shopping event. Furthermore, Liang Shaohua notes that Tencent, another tech giant, is experiencing stagnation. WeChat, Tencent's flagship app, faces scrutiny globally, particularly in the United States, where some states are considering usage restrictions. At the same time, domestically, WeChat is also coming under heavy censorship. Therefore, Tencent's declining responsiveness and uncertain future reflect the broader social and political climate in China.
Since the economic reforms and opening up, this year has been the toughest. I've been in the e-commerce industry for almost 10 years, and this year has been the hardest. Many who run physical stores are saying they're not doing any business, and we in e-commerce are in a similar boat. Last year, when times were hard, we were looking forward to the Mid-Autumn Festival and National Day. You know, September and October are usually our golden months, with business booming. But this year, these months were even worse than the usual off-season. Honestly, everyone needs to make a living, and no one's going to stick with a business that's losing money. Many of my peers have already given up. We've rented such a big factory space, over 1,000 square meters, and with more than a dozen colleagues, it's a big operation. But now we can barely sell a few hundred pairs of shoes a day, just enough to scrape by on wages and rent. I'm not making any profit on a pair of shoes. These are the rubber shoes we sell. Last year, we could sell a pair for 49 yuan, but this year, we can't even sell them for 39 yuan. I don't know much about other industries, but I know ours too well. It's a complete mess with everyone undercutting each other on prices. Shipping insurance used to cost just a few cents. Now it's risen to more than 2 yuan, and the rate of returns this year is ridiculously high.
The current turmoil in China's economy, characterized by widespread chaos, is rooted in the policies of the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP's assertive foreign policy creating geopolitical tensions and stringent domestic controls have led to the closure of private enterprises and the withdrawal of foreign investments. This has resulted in widespread unemployment and pay cuts, which in turn have depressed consumer spending, leading to reduced investment and exacerbating unemployment in a vicious cycle. The CCP's policies focused more on minimizing government losses and stabilizing the regime rather than on the people's interests, have eroded confidence in the Chinese economy among businesses and consumers. Attempts by the CCP to regain public trust appear too late, as the economy faces collapse and the driving forces of China's economy fade away. Relative to the global scale, China is experiencing a demographic and economic contraction, prompting thousands of Chinese citizens to leave the country or choose not to have children as a response to the economic downturn.